facilitation simply means to make something easier or possible. So your role as a workshop facilitator is to gather groups together and make it easier or possible for them to achieve whatever it is they're trying to achieve. So if the workshop is a learning workshop or a training session, it's your job to make it easier or possible for groups to learn together. If the group's coming together to solve a problem or plan a project, it's your job to make it easier or possible for them to discuss ideas, explore, debate, decide, and ultimately take action. Now, no two workshops are exactly the same, but as you go through a workshop, there are some key things that the workshop facilitator needs to do. In this video, I walk you through the flow of a workshop and I explain what your role is at every step of the way. It's kind of like a step-by-step guide to workshop facilitation. Hi, I'm Kerri Price. I'm the founder of the Facilitators Network, and I use the principles of deliberate generosity to make sure that no meeting or workshop is ever wasted. I've been a professional facilitator for 20 odd years, and in that time I've led thousands of meetings, workshops and community conversations. Nowadays, I help other trainers and facilitators do it well too. When I think about the role of a workshop facilitator, I think of it a little bit like the role of a conductor for an orchestra. The conductor is not in the seats playing the instruments, but instead it's their role to guide the group, guide the musicians, and make sure that they are playing beautiful music together. So it's their job to guide the different personalities, the different skill sets, the different egos, and make sure that as an orchestra, they are playing the music harmoniously together. And the same goes with the workshop facilitator. It's not our job to have all of the answers or provide all of the content. It's our job to guide a group of people through a process so that they can achieve whatever it is they're trying to achieve. While no two pieces of music are the same and no two workshops are the same, there are some key things that we need to do along the way. The first thing we need to do is have a plan. Just like a conductor doesn't rock up to an orchestra and make it up on the spot, they have some sheet music or a pre-arrangement that they can guide people through, so too do we as a workshop facilitator. We need to have some sort of plan that will take people from where they are now to where they want to go. When I'm planning my workshops, I work through the process looking through 5 different lenses. The first thing I think about is, what do participants need to feel in this workshop in order to be able to participate and work through discussions productively? The second thing I think about is, what behaviours do I need participants to demonstrate in order for this workshop to be a success? Do I need them to be innovative? Do I need them to be reflective? Do I need them to be respectful? What are the behaviours that we're wanting to guide? And then I start thinking about, what do participants need to know? So what's the information or the content or the context that I need to give them in order for them to be able to understand? What do they need to discuss? So what are the things that they need to be able to pull apart, explore and apply to their own context? And lastly, what do they need to decide? So for this workshop to be a success, what decisions need to be made before we leave the room? Once I've answered those questions, what do participants need to feel, what behaviours do they need to demonstrate, and what do they need to know, discuss and decide, I can start putting together activities and structures and processes to achieve all of that in the room. The second step in the process for facilitators is to set the scene. And this starts long before the workshop even begins. In fact, it starts at the point of invitation. Instead of just inviting people to a workshop and telling them when it is and where it is and what time it starts, it's a great idea to let them know why they're being invited and what you're hoping they will contribute to the discussion while they're there. By letting them know what you're hoping they'll get out of it and what you're hoping they'll contribute, they're starting to prime and prepare for what might happen in the workshop itself. Once people arrive, it's your job as a facilitator to help them get ready to engage. So part of that is providing space for connection so people can get to know who else is in the room. It's about connecting them to the purpose of the session. So again, reiterating why they're there and what you're hoping to achieve. And it's about creating an environment where people feel safe to contribute. Now, as a facilitator, you can't make anyone feel anything, but you can create an environment where the feelings of safety have the best chance of showing up. Some people think that setting the scene, icebreakers, connection activities are just the fluff before the real work begins. But honestly, setting the scene is what sets the tone for the whole workshop. It's really important that you do this piece well. Step 3, or the third part of the facilitation process, is to provide context for participants. So if this is a learning workshop, this is about providing a big picture understanding of the topic that you're going to be exploring. If this is a workshop about problem solving or planning a project, this is about providing context as to how we got to this point. What's the background information that people need to be aware of? Now, depending on the workshop that you're running, you as the facilitator might not know all of the context. You might not have all of the details, the background information about the project. So you might pass this role over to somebody else. It might be the project lead, it might be the team leader, it might be the GM. Whoever's in charge of the particular project might be the best person to provide this background context. Now, how you provide context in a workshop setting will vary a little bit depending on the workshop itself, but it's important that people have the context before diving into the details. They can't discuss things if they don't truly understand what they're there to discuss. Step 4, or the fourth part of the workshop process, is to start workshopping. And this is where the group is coming together to discuss ideas, to debate, to go through decision-making processes, sharing opinions, challenging each other, and sometimes this is where it gets a bit messy. So your job as a facilitator in this part of the process is to make sure that all voices are heard and that any conflict is managed productively. It's about being aware of group dynamics, it's about being aware of power plays, all of the stuff that happens below the surface. Now, you might do this by getting people into small group discussions, you might use specific techniques or frameworks that you step people through, and no two workshops are exactly the same. But your job, like the conductor, is to make sure that everyone is working together. Now, it's okay that people have different skill sets or different personalities, or they have different information to bring to the table. Your job is to make sure there's space for everyone to get involved in the process. Step 5 is to close well. And it doesn't matter whether this is a learning workshop or a problem solving or planning workshop. Anything that's happened in the workshop needs to properly land. It doesn't mean that every decision needs to be made, but it does mean that every loop needs to be closed. So if it's a learning workshop, it might be that you take time at the end for people to properly reflect on what they've learnt through the day and maybe commit to some individual actions that they'll take once they're back at the office. How will they put this learning into practice? If it's a workshop where you've been planning a project or problem solving, that's about landing on some decisions and agreeing on what are the next steps. Who will be taking those steps? Who's responsible for them? Who needs to be consulted or informed along the way? Now, sometimes you go through a workshop and you just can't get to a decision. That's okay. Closing the loop means deciding when are we going to pick up this conversation again? When will we have the conversation that lands on a decision? And what work do we need to do between now and then to make sure that next time the decision gets landed? If you look at my channel, you'll see I've got a bunch of videos that go into each of these workshop pieces in more detail. And I've also got a bunch of free resources over at my website. If you head over to kerriprice.co.nz, you can download this book, Facilitate This, absolutely free. It's full of 45 activities that you can weave into your workshop plan and they're all designed to build connection and spark conversation in a group setting. The link is in the description below. Go check it out.